Simon, it's great to have you on. I mean, Priti Patel saying she's tremendously proud of the UK's efforts and that withdrawal from Afghanistan. Thinking back to those chaotic scenes, do you find those words misplaced?
I think they are misplaced. I agree with an awful lot that the Admiral said. This was a significant failure of Western policy, politics and diplomacy. And while we can be very proud of the efforts of our soldiers, indeed many of our officials who managed to bring 15,000 people out on August 15th and the succeeding weeks afterwards, the fact we got to that stage is not clever. What has also not worked is the integration of the Afghans we have brought to this country. I saw some figures the other day which suggested that of those 15,000 people that we brought over from Afghanistan, that some 9,000 of them are still basically in hotel or other kind of temporary accommodation, haven't been resettled. And still, there are Afghans who deserve our support, who deserve sanctuary in this country, who are still stuck in Afghanistan or in neighbouring countries waiting for the Home Office to do the clearances to get them through. So we've still got a long way to go. We haven't completed the work we started last August, bringing people out. And until all the Afghans we did bring out have been properly integrated, and that means schools, education for their children, an opportunity to be good citizens of this country, which they all want to do, then the job is not finished.
As a former defence attaché in Kabul, listening to what Rear Admiral Mike Hewitt had to say about, well, it isn't necessarily too late to go back in, and, you know, he is sort of delicately advocating that we might have to seriously consider that. Would that be something that you think should be put on the table?
There's a long way to go before that happens. I mean, it's very difficult to know what you're going to do. The reality of life is that the Taliban now have pretty well a total hold over the country itself. And there are lots of things we can do before we start thinking of conducting another intervention into the country. I mean, one area that we haven't really talked about actually is the role of Pakistan. The Taliban didn't just take over Afghanistan because the Americans left. Clearly that did not help. They did it the whole time with the support of the Pakistani government. And I note particularly that for years prior to the Taliban takeover, both in terms of US aid and UK aid, we gave a great deal of money to Pakistan. I think that Pakistan owes us, and they need to do something now very dramatic to ensure that we do not have literally mass starvation in Afghanistan over the coming winter. At the moment, the Afghan country is suffering. It's the worst drought in 27 years. Now, we've got a drought this year, but how awful it's going to be in this country, we're not talking about millions of people dying or being forced to become refugees. So human rights are really important, but the most basic human right is the right to life. And that is currently under threat in Afghanistan. And that must be our #1 priority.